Can you dive a little deeper into those possibilities for the next stages? As we sit here right now, the first day of March, we're in the fifth month of this war. Where are we in terms of that temporary ceasefire?
Yeah, so put it a little bit in perspective. March 1st, obviously coming from October 7th, the Israelis have taken operational control of most of Gaza. The north is under Israeli control, though there are pockets of Hamas cells that continue to pop up that the Israelis are fighting. We see casualties the IDF continues to take even in the north. The city of Khan Yunis, the second largest city in Gaza, which is in the south, where Yahya Sinwar is believed to be hiding and his headquarters was located, is largely under Israeli control. There's some more work to be done there. There's a lot of tunnel infrastructure to be destroyed, and there's still Sinwar to find. But then as you move south, there is Rafah that is still largely intact with Hamas battalions, four of them, it's believed, maybe other terrorists hiding underneath, maybe hostages being held underneath in the tunnels. And so that's the last major operation still to come. Okay, well, what are we up against March 1st today? 10 days from now, we're talking about the start of Ramadan, the holy month for Muslims around the world. And there is a fear that Iran and Hamas are plotting a next stage of October 7th for Ramadan. This could be some sort of combustible event at the Al Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem in hopes of spreading violence into the West Bank and to the wider region. This is something the Israelis are hoping to avoid. And so there is, alongside this negotiation for a temporary ceasefire that could allow for a hostage deal, also in the back of everyone's mind, the hope for some sort of de escalation during Ramadan to avoid any pretext for Iran to use Ramadan, use violence in Gaza, the continued conflicts on the northern border of Israel with Hezbollah as that pretext to launch something in Al Aqsa during Ramadan. So this is the context we're up against. The Israelis, however, their leverage in negotiations. Remember, what are they saying to Hamas? They have two objectives: free the hostages, and we're going to destroy you. Well, Hamas says, well, if I'm going to be destroyed, I'm not releasing the hostages. It's sort of obvious from a negotiating perspective. So what are incentives for Hamas right now to release hostages to get a ceasefire? Well, so long as Hamas believes it has a chance of winning the war, which to them means surviving the war, then they might agree to a ceasefire. And so for the Israeli perspective, they want a temporary ceasefire, 6 weeks at maximum, that they guarantee each other inside the government they will continue to restart operations and continue with the work of destroying Hamas in Rafah and elsewhere after that ceasefire. Hamas would be betting on international pressure over that 6 weeks being so large on Israel not to restart operations, and the 6 week ceasefire becomes a permanent ceasefire. That's the dance going on. And then other elements being, what will Hamas demand in exchange for hostages being released? In the past, we saw women being released, children being released in exchange for 3 Palestinian terrorists being released from prison on the Israeli side. And the condition the Israelis had was none of those terrorists could have had any what they call blood on their hands. The terrorist acts couldn't have resulted in deaths. They tried to kill people. They may have injured people, but they didn't actually kill people. Hamas is now demanding larger numbers of ratios in exchange for hostages, and they're demanding terrorists with blood on their hands be released. That's controversial inside Israel. It's part of the reason we have seen a delay in getting to a ceasefire and a hostage agreement.